All right. Please welcome,
Okay.
here's Rich Boucher's feature, Garage Poets.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. Again, many thanks for your very kind offer to have me feature. Hi again, everybody. This is a redux version of my hello. I've got 10 poems for you tonight, and 3 of them are from the book. The remainder are kind of new, semi-new, etc., etc. And I'll leave it up to you all to decide if you think it's autobiographical or not. First poem is called Decision Time. Sometimes when the neighbors are being intimate, I lean a bit towards the wall, cock an ear a mic closer to see if I can tell or feel who's winning, who has the upper hand in the intercourse going on over there. Sometimes I root for him, fight my nasty impulse to shout encouragement towards wherever he is, while he's thrusting or doing whatever else it is she wants. Sometimes I'll cheer for her, hold myself dear while biting into an apple to keep the me in me from hollering uninvited praise in her general and probably naked direction. Likely, she wouldn't like it if I were the one to call her a good girl. And he'd probably hate hearing me calling him cowboy or soldier or whatever pet sex name he's supposed to get. I don't know, though. It's 1:45 on a Monday night and they're at it again. I've got to do something. All right. Next poem, also kind of somewhat semi-new, this is called American Harrower. The horses pursue me all around town, and they do it every day. I decide it's a warm enough morning to walk the mile to the post office, and I hear the hooves clopping on the sidewalk. I halt, turn around, and the horse is still, head down, munching on some grass on the lawn of the town hall, but he's got no hope of fooling me. I know this because even when he slows down to disguise his purpose, he's waiting for me when I come out of the convenience store. All colors and breeds, breathing in the same breeze that suddenly clasps me tight when I walk under the store's awning, when I walk into the shadow there. The only one I've never seen is the unicorn, assuming she's real and that she's there. A nervous gray Andalusian ambles a constant few yards away, one eye on me, while I pick out bags of black seed at the farmer's market. She knows every place I've been today, and I think she even knows where I'm headed next. She has to know. A chestnut Arabian, outfitted with a keen sense of the ironic and absurd, mills around the entrance to the candy store, pretending he is not there for me, but he only leaves when I leave. There's nothing else that can be. An Appaloosa the color of a cinnamon Dalmatian keeps pace with me, no matter what errand I'm on in town. Sometimes I try to lose him by ducking into the barbershop, but number one, he's aware that's just a move I make in desperation since I've never let anyone besides myself take a pair of scissors to my head. And number two, no matter how I style myself or what's on my mind, I wake up every morning anyway with my hair the kind of mess that looks like I've got devil horns there. I never know if anyone else can see the horses, but would it matter, really, if they did? Omens and signs are wasted on those who prefer the first impression they get from a sunrise. You know, you're the only one I've ever come close to confiding in about the horses. The horses are the only ones who know what I've done. And maybe it's best that way. The sun is on the verge of setting. 2 dark and quite moody Frisians snort at my back as I walk through the door of the gun shop. They know what I've done. Okay, so I'm just gonna kick out of this one. Some of these poems, I got to tell you, some of these poems are not meant to be taken internally, but then some of them can be as well. This is called How Can I Express in Just a Few Words What Has Taken Me 5 Seconds to Understand? I asked the adult film star if she would love me for a little while. This was at the Expo Convention Booth Arena Concourse place where she was signing autographs and taking pictures with all of her admirers who admired her, much in the same way that I admired her. Upon hearing my request, she looked at me with an expression of a lovely and heartfelt shock. Her shock was beautiful and sexy, of course, because she was adult and because she was film star. She held my gaze for a few moments, and in that time I thought about my life and how weird it was that I was still alive, and how strange it was that people still sometimes loved me when I couldn't see any reason for the love. The other onlookers to this interaction had no idea what was going on, and they milled about like people who aren't me often do when a thing is happening that they don't think is happening. The adult film star's look of shock melted just then into a smile small enough to fit onto her lips. And she then informed me that I was sweet, which was nice, but in every honesty, she wasn't telling me something I didn't already know. They only give each pilgrim, autograph, and photo seeker about a minute with the adult film star. So I was already under enough pressure as it was. Everyone had to make the most of this once-in-a-lifetime experience. The guy right before me used his chance to just touch the hem of her robe and be healed. And the adult film star healed him. Yay, Hosanna. My time was running out, and I didn't want an autograph or a Polaroid with her. I just wanted to know if this love thing was real, and if so, could I have some of her love for a while? This poem, I had the honor of getting to hear Adam cover some time ago. Thank you, Namu. Thank you, Marissa. Thank you, everybody. This is called Choking the Chicken. My mom caught me choking the chicken once. It was a Sunday morning. It was the Sunday morning. It was the Sunday morning that had a lot of the and the about it. I'd gone lumbering out to the back of the back shed in our backyard with my young, teen-aged back to the sun, out to go fetch Mom and me some milk and orange juice and some breakfast chops for Mom and me from our modest homegrown crops we had going back there in the back for Mom and me. You might not remember this because I never told you about it, but we had a few farm animals back there. A couple of bees buzzed like hell as I sauntered on past the rhinos and rattlers towards where we kept the orange, milk, and chop bushes. There, beside the milk bush, was Paul, the chicken we owned. He scrawled F-U in the sand with his talon and cussed me out because we didn't get along, him and me. We never got along, not ever since we adopted him. Mom loved him, but I sure didn't. He said something nasty out of the side of his mouth when I flipped him the bird, and before long, we were at each other's throats. I punched him good, right in the kidneys, and knocked him to the ground. He was flat on his back, wheezing, and I landed on him, a fury of fists raining across his stupid mug. I don't remember how many fists I had, but there were a lot of them. He kept trying to bring his knees up to get me, but I gave him a good backhand across the ear and went for it. I had both hands around his neck and he was turning red, tongue hanging out and swearing all to hell. He reached up with his hands and jabbed his thumbs in my eyes. Because of the pain he was giving to me, I went, ah, a couple of times. His hat rolled off his head in the fight and settled in the dust and feathers. Just then, our mom arrived, spatula in hand, bathrobe open, curlers tight to the brain, cigarette dangling. And she let the both of us have it. All right. Okay. So this one, I'm going to say, I don't know if I want to share this screen because I don't think I will be able to successfully do it during the feature, but it does have a sort of a photographic aid, and I might include this particular set list in the poems in the chat later if people are feeling it. This is called The Herbalist. Because of the world, and because I was alive, I wasn't feeling well at all. Among other things, I wasn't even sure if I was a thing that happened or maybe I myself was a hoax or what. I have to be honest and tell you that it didn't seem like I had a choice. I needed to see a professional. I'd heard there was a girl, a woman, a healing herbalist who could be found in my city. I went outside the apartment, still wearing my doomsday mask, and listened to what the leaves on the ground sounded like until I knew where to find her. I walked into the shop. Little bottles and plant tendrils everywhere glowed gold and glinted in the yellow of Six's dusk. I thought my eyes were having trouble focusing. I kept hearing the ringing of tiny bells that I couldn't hear at all. And the melody was probably pretty. She stood behind the counter looking at me. She did not welcome me out loud, but instead just met my eyes with eyes of the kind of blue slate seen in a dream, and she understood at me for a few days. And then she said, "You're really not doing well at all, are you?" And then I used about 200 words to acknowledge what she said, each word filament thin and impermanent. And I found myself speaking to her using the British version of English slang. She wore a white lab coat, but the lab coat was really a deep red and completely unbuttoned if you looked at her with the correct intentions. Her pink lips looked cold and were the exact same size as the daydreams I was having. It was obvious that my attraction to her meant that she was medical and spiritual and a doctor. The floor underneath my feet acted as though it couldn't stand the sight of me. Nobody could blame the floor. I can give you an infused oil of rhododendron and pubis laximus, and that should help you to become immune to worry and anxiety. It should take care of this forever, and I can produce this for you with my body right now while I'm standing here. I shook my head from side to side, and she knew that my saying no was really my saying yes, and she put 2 vials on the counter. I can also have a salve of jasmine and morning glory made for you, and that should help with your socioeconomic situation, as well as that unsightly growth I can see in your soul. Her light brown curls obscured her name tag, but I already knew that she was called Elena. I told her I wasn't sure, and in reply, she reached behind herself on the shelf and placed 3 jars of the sticky pink on the counter. You're looking longer than you need to be at my nails. So because I know what's in your mind, I'll make you a special tincture, a decoction, if you will, an ingestible hypnotic of poppy and carnation that should help your body to manufacture the right enzymes for the elimination of ugly, irritating Americans. Not just the ones who got inside of you, but also the ones who are living in the houses around you. Even though I'm grown, the sound of her voice soothed me so brutally that suddenly my eyes were only 7 years old and they were crying. Madame Elena called out towards the room in the back, and 3 women of immeasurable beauty and stature appeared through the bead curtain. Is it more accurate to say that they materialized? These are my students, Dandelion, Thistle, and Daisy. They're going to take you in the back to prepare your body for the medicinals I'll be brewing. They are going to shock your brain using techniques. You'll get a new brain after that. When you come back, I'll have everything ready for you to take home. Just relax and accept everything that they do to you. Things happened to my body. And then after the girls who were women were done, I bathed in non-essential oils inside of a giant fairy teacup in the field out back until I felt like a man who I have not been before. I took home the sack of daydreams her lips inspired, along with a scented note upon which was written the instructions for the administration. I was also given a brand new name, which I can start using anytime. I felt better. This next poem, as we go down the list, thank you. I want to say a special word of thanks also. The Boucher takes it all. I just saw that on the screen. Looking to see, I know that Valerie's somewhere here. This is a request that Valerie was kind enough to send along. And this is called Father's Whistler. This is one of the ones in the book. They say that if you lose a tooth in your dream, it means that someone you love will die very soon. I never believed in that little bit of folk wisdom, mostly because I was scared that dreams could really mean things, but also because I never cared for the hippie types who helped to promulgate such bunk into the culture. They say that if you lose a tooth in your dream, it means that sometime in the next week, one of your light bulbs is going to go out. I dreamed that I lost a tooth only a few months before we lost my father to the ravages of getting older. I keep that tooth in a jar in the bottom of my dresser to remember what it means to cage something important. About 2 weeks after the funeral, I noticed that I was starting to grow a new tooth in the hole left behind by one of my wisdom tooth extractions. I thought it was strange, but I didn't dwell on it. Another new tooth started growing right behind that new wisdom tooth about a month later. This kept happening and hasn't stopped happening. I keep growing new teeth at least once a month. It's got to the point where it's physically difficult to spit out the phrase new teeth at least once a month with all of these new teeth getting in the way. I went to one of my dentists to discuss this freakish growth, and he told me that the new teeth were coming from my father. My dentist told me that each time my deceased father dreamed of me from beyond the grave, in whatever bed he may have been laying in out there in the next world, a brand new tooth would appear in my mouth. The truth of this hit me quickly and instinctually, thickening in the air like so much pungent incense. As of the time of this writing, I can't sing anymore because I now have over 160 teeth in my mouth, and the number keeps growing each month and week. Truthfully, these new teeth prove that death has a beautiful smile, though I would give anything to be able to whistle again without sending sparks flying everywhere. The thought of saltwater taffy terrifies me. If I could get the words out without screaming a song about nails on a chalkboard, I'd tell you, I miss my father. And that one, I want to dedicate to, I'm going to unblur. How do I unblur again? Unblur there it is. I'm going to dedicate that to my dad. There he is, my father. Right there, if you can see him. He was a handsome fella. That's from when he was in the service, and nothing but the tooth. Okay. All right. This is, I'm just going to just read this one. No intro. It's called Hot Dog Smeller. The story of my superpower is a simple and yet perverse one. And by that I mean I discovered my superpower by accident at a funeral I was at. I didn't like that people were crying, even if someone they loved was dead. But I didn't know how to take away their sadness. The deceased stared at me from the casket expectantly, as though waiting for the truth to dawn on me. I closed my eyes for a moment and concentrated. Suddenly, several people in the room complained that they thought they smelled hot dogs real bad. More than 4 people separately complained about it. And I knew it had to have been me, what I caused. That smell. That smell was something only I could have summoned, only I. And I knew that from then on, that was my power, to cause in others a strong sense, a feeling, if you will, of smelling the smell of hot dogs nearby, but really strongly, like you could picture the boiling water and the pink skin stretching in the heat. And then, like some kind of gross miracle, all of those people who were mourning suddenly had a more pressing matter at hand. The acrid, pungent cloud of hot dog smell in the air all around them. Could you keep focused on the dead with the odor of Fenway Franks filling your nostrils? Could God? My hot dog smell power had taken away the pain of others like an angel balm on the burning shoulders of the agony of their sadness. There was something divine in what happened, something superhuman, and that, you see, was how my life of being a crime fighter began. I never wore a cape, never drove a rocket car, never wielded an unbreakable weapon. But I did my part every time I witnessed a crime in progress, and I foiled many attempted offenses by using my ability to offend others in a raunchy yet mouthwatering way. You look shocked. Yes, I can see the question in your eyes. But it's all true. It's all true. I made people smell things they couldn't believe. Okay. So just a couple more. Jeff, I think we're doing okay on time. You can give me the high sign there.
Oh, you got plenty of time, Rich.
Awesome.
Especially if they were more like that last one. Oh my God. That was so amazing.
I have a fascination with diseases, specifically like weird diseases. And I really like in poems. Oh, I like that, Anna. That's a cool note about that, about the smell of hot dogs. I will say I get fascinated by weird diseases. And so this was, this kind of comes out about that. This is from the book as well. This is called The Silent Killer. Stricken with vandalism at the age of 10, little Brian was terribly hobbled and ill-behaved because of the congenital condition he got born with. He tried to walk everywhere on his own, but his disease caused him to have to stop and deface some property with the spray paint can he was born holding in his right hand. His mother could do nothing but let him do it and pay the owners of the property after. When the delivery doctor saw little Brian exit his mother with a spray paint can in his hand, he knew something was wrong. A lot of times, property owners would get mad, but then they would look at little Brian's little face and see that he just couldn't help but being born with a spray paint can in his hand. And so then they would sort of pathetically smile and let little Brian fulfill his disease against their belongings. The child doctors tried to force little Brian to wear a pair of metal anti-vandalism arm braces, but little Brian's disease gave him incredible strength, and he wound up hurting a lot of doctors. All that anybody could do was let little Brian do what he had to do and destroy the things that did not belong to him. He had a disease that was incurable and unstoppable. Everybody had to let little Brian ruin things. Little Brian was a little boy who had snack crumbs on his mouth and who defaced property everywhere he went, and you wanted to smack him, but you couldn't. I'm sorry, but you could never smack little Brian, no matter how much you might have wanted to, because little Brian was stricken with vandalism, and because little Brian didn't belong to you. Okay. And so this poem, I think I might have shared once before. This is My response to seeing on a poetry website a completely over-the-top introduction to someone's poem. Somebody basically had a whole paragraph before the poem, just over-explaining and kind of talking down to the visitors of the website. So seeing that, I had to do this. This is called Sous Chef's Kiss. This poem investigates the hierarchical meaning of my cultural cereal as I lean into difficult structures to question the validity of 2% low-fat milk. In this poem, I digress from typical definitions of hamburger and explore the more penetrative nuances of hot dogs. With this poem, the counterculture's obsession with my pajamas becomes revealed, and intuitive remarks arising out of the dynamic interstices between me and your bed become altruistically, powerfully transgressive among the IKEA. This poem takes as its linguistic impulse the roots of my garbage, and the lyrics of this work interrogate my neighbor as a nominal curative, with a carefully pejorative aim set builded towards a hegemonistic thong, providing a cursory evaluation and an intuitive, problematic analysis of the stigma and shame that surrounds asparagus. This poem tasks the common experience with a banana, with shamelessly regarding those who experience such fruit in ways that populate an open mouth with the promise of elevated aliveness. This poem bravelessly pulls the curtain over the emancipation of a typical serving of mac and cheese, thus overcoming, indeed, in its own right, an intransigent society's predilection for corn on the cob, leisure, yoga pants pulled tight and translucent over the values enlightened communities look to for moral and savage sustenance. And so therefore, a significant portion of this poem has dilated cervical understandings of lingerie to extreme soaked hybrids of hubris and potential within the dialectical confines of your mama, thereby proving provincially that vast swaths of heuristic adult video stores cannot and will not accommodate a climate of intimidation when the general populace has no taste for it, them, us, a lollipop, or indeed the viewer. And it is here, at the intersection of divinity and peekaboo, a la Montevideo, I see the mountain, wherein we find ourselves at long last horny, abject, fighting for non-existent rights within that sesame's toasted lumberjack nail salon, nay, further, on behalf of that high-priced escort that dwells in all of us, even though fear is what makes us Walmart, makes us spring a bone, fling a bushwash, makes us mayonnaise that ham speculum more deeply than anything we know in this world. But those of us who are courageous enough to challenge the foregone climacticisms inherent in both the box of Jimmy Dean's frozen sausage and in the conglomerate tricycles of institutional sugarless disforeplay will doubtedly survive the difference with a brilliant gleam in the newfound groin of equitable, just barbecues, and of renewed hope for next Thursday, a kind of sous chef's kiss, if you will.
Oh, fuck, it's awesome. Keep going. Don't stop.
And this is actually, I'm going to close with this. This is actually, we've come to it. This is the 10th poem out of 10. This is also from my book. This is called, well, the nickname for the poem locally is the Blueberry Pie poem, but it's called The Only One Who Gets You. This is the blueberry pie you were born to eat. The blueberry pie that knew you as a child when it was just a blueberry pie child itself. Do you remember? Do you remember the songs? You and this blueberry pie once ran together as children through sepia wheat fields, getting freckles at the same age, all the magic of youngness long gone now. There's a Don Henley song about it playing somewhere. Oh God, this blueberry pie, like 10,000 souls on a silvery bone boat rolling over the moonlit sea monster waves of earth primordial. It has been waiting for you here, under this glass counter, for 32 years. And now this pie is looking up at you, locking eyes with you. It is making little snorting noises in your direction. On the shiny aluminum platter under the glass, the blueberry pie is vibrating, twitching, pulsing and glowing as it watches you, tracks your every move. Drop your bags. Get on your knees and press your hands to the glass. Do not make kissy faces at the pie unless you mean to bury your face in it. Put them on the glass. These emotions you have about pie. Be free enough to cry if you want to. This pastry is now your mate. Finally, your loved one. Finally, the one who could be your only. Finally, your pie, this blueberry pie that will understand you. And maybe, if fortune allows, give you children. Polite blue children with graham cracker eyes. Grind your open mouth against the glass food enclosure. Get in the way of the other customers in line. Make them walk around the growling spectacle of you. The blueberry pie is showing you its cleavage. It is leaning down to pick up a napkin lewdly, knowing full well you're taking in the sight of its surreptitious breasts. This blueberry pie somehow already has your phone number and already knows the special way to bring you your private bliss. Stare hard at the blueberry pie. Make it know that you know it's been watching you bump and grind in the lunch hour. Pay no mind to the other customers. Let the world slip away. The other people here don't know about pie. To hell with them and their indecipherable, crazy, non-pie wanting ways. Tear open your shirt and ganache your rapture teeth in the diner. Wail at a religious volume. Make a scene with your flaky crust. You have found your dessert and you are justified. Just a half-inch pane of glass between you and what you must have. Between you and the end of the only pain in your heart. Your indigo heart that used to be strong sangria. Covered in a lovely purple goop now. Your heart. Because of this.
Oh, let's go.
Wow, Rich. You're making
Thank
us
you.
all hungry.
Yeah, that's the new phrase we came up with while hearing all your sexy food poems. We're horngry now.
Horngry. I like that. People are all horngry. And I want to thank everybody. Thank you, Jeff. Also, Valerie, I hope you like my rendition of Father's Whistler. And also, Adam, I hope that you like my self version of the poem that you did an amazing cover of in the other Zoom, in your Zoom, the Choking the Chicken, which I'm still, every time I think about you doing the Choking the Chicken poem.
We loved the poem, and it was really cool to hear it again. Thank you for doing it.
Thank you. Thanks for requesting it very much.
Yeah, that was
and since it's this one more time, because I can, we unblur. Dedicate this to my. He's gone, but my dad. That's him. So his name was Richard. Also, by the way.
Do you want to try to do this screen share to show the picture that went along with one of those poems, just so we have it on the.
Oh yeah, let me see if I can do that. I think that I can.
Before I stop the YouTube, we'll try it.
Yeah, let me tell me when you're ready, and I'll try to do that.
I'm ready whenever you are.
Okay, so this is actually Elena from that poem, The Herbalist. Let me see if I can do this. Okay, here we go. Zoom.
If you don't remember,
share.
You can check out the YouTube.
Oh, here we go. I think I got it. You ready? Okay. This is the, here we go.
From the Herbalist poem.
That is the Herbalist. Okay.
All right.
There we go. So thank you all for listening.
Yeah, thank you, Rich. That was awesome. The chat was on fire the whole entire time. People were changing their names. It was a raucous Zoom for your future.
I'm gonna have to scroll back and look through. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, definitely do. Hey, and I like to ask the feature wants to put their Venmo in the chat, and people can toss you a couple bucks. Like if we were in a physical venue, people would toss a few bucks to get into the venue, most
Okay,
likely.
thank you.
So if they
I've
could,
got a
everybody put in like $2 or $3 and sent that Rich's way, that would be pretty swell. And
I have a
that is
PayPal, so
definitely
there
worth
it
a
is.
couple bucks.
My email there.
Yeah, thank you. And if you have links to your book for sale, that would be great as well. Toss those in the chat.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, I'm going to stop the YouTube stream.